on their profiling. We know it's alive and well, and we know it happens, okay? And it's something that we have to address. I mean, the Erlacher situation, that was just a tip of the iceberg, and Erlacher and I were friends, all right? But that doesn't dismiss the fact, that there is a rogue element of police in Rochester. After all, they're human. They're prone to make mistakes. They're not perfect. So we need a review board that has subpoena powers. And I'm going to say that now, and I've said it since I was president of FIGHT and before, and I'm going to continue to say it until God calls me home, okay? We need a police review board with subpoena powers.
Okay, just a little background for the audience. The FIGHT organization, of course, was the premier civil rights organization in this community during the 1960s, and Mr. Wallace Smith has the distinction of being the last president of that organization, and certainly that's an issue that FIGHT fought for years and years in the 1960s. So as it relates to, this is something that just popped in my head, the composition of the police department. We know that it's overwhelmingly white. The overwhelming majority of the officers don't live in the community that they're policing and so forth. And we've seen, even recently, that for some reason the Rochester Police Department can't seem to recruit more people of color and so forth. What's going on? What needs to happen? Is that part of the answer in terms of having a more just and service-minded department, more people of color, or?
See, in my opinion, the answer, I mean, is multifaceted. I mean, we can go on all day about what the answer, what needs to be done. And I'm gonna go out on the edge here, for lack of a better word, and say something which some viewers may agree, some may not. I'm tired of hearing, and I've heard it several times, well, how can a police department be racist when there's a few black officers and there's a few Latino officers? And that's a joke to me.
Yeah, okay.
And this is something which a lot of minorities, I believe, I don't want to, assume that everybody has the same mentality, everybody has the same beliefs, or see the police like I do. And I know they don't, not everybody.
Okay.
But here's something. Sometimes, okay, when I particularly, okay, Davy V, use the word a racist police department, okay, in my mind, I don't necessarily picture a white officer profiling or beating or abusing or intimidating a black or Latino male.
Okay.
That is part of it.
Yes,
that
yes.
can very well be part of it.
Yes.
But to be honest, what also comes in my mind is a black officer or a Latino officer sometimes, okay? And many people in the community could attest to this personally. Abusing their power and almost this sick, and I'm not a psychologist, but this is something that a psychologist needs to break down, okay, and analyze the phenomenon that happens with some minorities themselves when they gain power, okay, such as a police officer, when they take an oath. And I've seen it firsthand, I've witnessed it with black and Latino officers in the city, okay? Almost like a hatred, almost like a disgust that they have of their fellow African American or Latino, human being on the other end of their nightstick.
Yes, I understand.
And I've seen it firsthand. So I want to get rid of this myth about, when Davy V says it's a racist police department, there's black officers and Spanish officers. That's ignorant. If anybody else dismisses my theory about what I believe to be a racist police department, then they're blind. And it's sad. They're living a lie if they believe that because there are few black or Spanish officers, a department can't be racist. Sometimes it's those very same minority officers who abuse and misuse their power more than a Caucasian officer.
There's been a lot of discussion about this because it speaks to the question of the culture of the police department.
Absolutely.
That police departments have cultures.
Absolutely.
And if you are to be a part of that, you have to fit into that culture. And there is a widespread belief that many officers of color believe that they have something to prove, that they have to prove to the establishment that they will, if necessary, beat the heads of their own people and so forth.
Yep.
And so I don't know. This is probably part of this phenomenon.
It speaks to the culture of society, right over the country, okay? America has never dealt with the race issue, okay? That's the elephant in front of us always, all right? And you were very correct, okay? There is a self-hatred, but that self-hatred was brought about as a result of that Willie Lynch conditioning to all people of color, okay? And we've been affected by the post-traumatic slavery disorder, okay? Now, the other night I was saying, okay, to whites it equates into white privilege. For blacks, it equates into hatred of anything black or colored, okay? And that's the reality that we have to deal with.
Okay.
America has never dealt with it. And you're on the mark. You can be black in a uniform, but you hate everything else that's black in a uniform because of that, as a result of that conditioning.
Exactly.
All right?
Yes, yes.
And that's what's permeating today's society, okay? We have to deal with it. It's never been dealt with, okay?
Well, just so that our audience doesn't think we're just spitting out rhetoric and so forth, this reality of a post-traumatic slavery disorder is the idea that many African scholars have written lots about and discussed in terms of the ongoing effects and impact of centuries of institutionalized slavery, which is still on us, and dysfunction that has been passed down through generations. So this is not just rhetoric. This is research based. The discussion is revolving around much research that has been done and that is ongoing. So we don't want people to think we're just making up something. Part of the racism is, I think, captured in the policies and the practices and the traditions.
I love that, and not to get away from, like you said, the policy, but I realize as we're talking here, and I love the shift. Not only we're talking about the police, but I love the fact that since we got into the racism thing, I want to say something that's been kind of a back burner issue with me to produce a documentary or video, and I'm actually getting started with that now. A local media outlet here in Rochester, okay, is, and let me say this right, is supporting, and basically giving a stage, okay, which whatever loopholes may be in place where they can't catch it would be just an excuse, meaning there has to be a way that they can better monitor their commentators and people that are leaving posts and comments, okay? And on this local news station, basically, it's sick. I myself have had a hard time kind of drawing back and falling back, like we say, and ignoring it. But now, since I've seen what's on here on a daily basis on this, news channels, and it's a local channel, on their website, it disgusts me how they are basically giving a platform to racists in our society, people that are living among us. I'll give you a case, an example. A few weeks ago, whether it's a shooting, whether it's obviously, it's always when it's something dealing with the city. If there's a shooting in Macedon and it involves a few Caucasians, that's fine. You won't see any comments. The minute it involves an African American or a Latino male in the city, and they're allegedly they're accused of any crime, shooting, robbery, anything, the hatred and the racist comments on this channel website will blow anyone's mind. And what I've started to do, okay, is basically started documenting these and started actually literally printing them off the site. And I'm coming up with something. I'm up to about 160 comments as we speak. There's one person that literally has given themselves the name Blacks Gone Wild. As their posting name, okay? There's comments. There was recently an incident at Durand Beach where somebody commented, in the 60s, the blacks and Latinos would not get away with what they get away with nowadays. They knew their place. I mean, and it gets worse. It gets worse. But again, and not to no pun intended. We're on a stage, so not to steal the stage, but
no, we're still on the same topic.
It aggravates me, and it really, as a person, first and foremost, as a father, as a human being, it sickens me how complacent and comfortable people in our community are and have become. Whether it's a police issue. You know what's sad to me when I get interviewed? Like I said earlier, people usually ask me, why do you feel what you're doing is important? You know, I wish, whether it's this show, whether it's the different magazines that have interviewed me about my work, I wish that I could say, you know what, we can line up this stage right now where we wouldn't even fit, where I could have 3 or 4 other people next to me that are doing the same thing. But it seems like people are more comfortable just looking the other way, and if it doesn't affect them, and if it doesn't hit home, or one of their family members hasn't been affected, they have the mentality of simply not getting involved, and why bother? And it's sad when we say that, because as a society, we become complacent and comfortable to the point where we are totally clueless and blind to what is going on around us as we speak.
Okay.
And when I put this website on and I go on there and it's amazing, it's sick. And, you know, we always tend to think racism, we have pictures in our mind of the 60s and the most horrific pictures of how, you know, blacks were hung from trees. And you know, the canine sick on blacks, and, you know, we think that, you know what I mean? And we're stuck. And we think because the KKK is not burning down a cross in front of somebody's yard, and it's 2010, we have this misconception and error in our mind that it doesn't happen.
Okay.
I believe it's as prevalent. It may not be in your face like it was, but it's dangerous.
Yes.
Because it's subliminal in ways, in other ways not so subliminal, sometimes obvious, sometimes not so obvious. It's a cancer, and it's permeating through us. These people that are posting, these are people that could be our mailman.
Yeah.
There's one actually on there that calls himself Taxed Up the Wazoo, is the name he picked.
Okay.
And he, the other day, revealed his cover.
Oh, is that right?
He took his hood off, I can say.
Okay.
Because he commented on a motor vehicle accident in the city near the airport,
Okay.
and he said he wasn't on that call,
Oh, okay.
but he learned from his other platoon members or other members on the force.
Okay.
So he gave himself away that he's a law enforcement officer.
Okay.
Okay? And this is somebody who makes these comments.
Okay.
So I'm working on a lot of stuff, but my point is that it's sad that we as a community, okay,
Okay.
and I'll use the Spanish word, any Spanish viewers will laugh when they hear this.
Okay.
We don't have the cojones
Okay.
that we need
Okay.
to stand up, you know, to injustices, whether it's police. That's what I've chosen to do.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be police. There's job discrimination. There's discrimination. There was recently a story about a roofing company who's one of the biggest in the nation, right here in the city, okay,
Yes.
who talked to African-American workers like they were less than trash.
Yeah.
So it's not about just the police. There's so many stuff.
Sure.
But we're more comfortable sitting back in our chair with a beer, with a soda, with whatever, and become complacent where, you know what? It hasn't bothered me. It hasn't affected me. I've had people say, what is it with you and the police? The police have never done nothing bad to me.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, this one comment is very interesting in terms of the one person who said he wasn't on that call and so forth. So I would say that maybe Chief Moore needs to see that. You had a comment real quick.
yes.
Our time is winding down, but we thank you for being with us, and we want to invite you back to the show. In fact, we're going to do a part 2.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. I like your analysis, but more than that, I like the fact that you're exposing some of these viewers on the blog.
Hold on right there. We're getting a signal that our time is out. Once again, we'd like to thank the community for tuning in and remind you can catch us right here at RCTV every Wednesday and every Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. And we hope that you'll join us next week for part 2 for the second segment of this show. We always close by saying no justice.
No peace.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many